And we're back with Brian Festa, who is the leader and founder of We the Patriots. And he's going to give us an update on a story that has been quite the buzz on X the last week. A 7-year-old girl, Kenlee, was basically medically kidnapped. Her mother, Joy, did not want her to get a new medication for cystic, or relatively new medication for cystic fibrosis that has a black box warning on it, because she was thriving on the medication she was already on. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, if I'm getting this wrong, but child was thriving on a tried and true medication. She didn't want to take the risk of trying this new medication. And so the state of Florida has taken away her parental rights and is trying to make that permanent. Is that right?
Yes, that is what they've been doing now. Actually, since they took her from her home, which has been 2 years now, believe it or not. She was 5 when she was taken out of the home. A lot of people think this just happened because it's just coming to light now. But, there's a lot of information that's coming out. There's conflicting reports from, or Governor DeSantis's office is contradicting or denying these allegations that she was taken wrongfully. So I do want to talk about that. But yeah, she was doing well. All indications, I can't release, all of the information. There is a protective order in this case, so I can't say anything that's in the court file. Quite frankly, I don't even have access to the the court file at this point. So, because I am not her direct attorney. I am an attorney, but I'm not representing Joy. We did retain counsel for her, and we are funding her legal defense. But I am not her attorney. So, there's certain things I can't speak about, but I will say this, I don't know why the governor's office is denying this. I don't know why Ron DeSantis isn't doing anything about this right now. If he is, we haven't heard about it. His communications director came out publicly, I think it was on Sunday evening, and said that, these allegations are not true. The allegations that have been made against DCF are not true, but we can't tell you why because, it's a sealed case and everything. Just trust us, basically. Well, I don't ever recommend blindly trusting any government official. I don't care if it's in the Ron DeSantis administration or the Trump administration or the Biden administration. Do not blindly trust government. Okay. And I will tell you from all the information that I do have, which I can't obviously release, just like they said, there is nothing in here that indicates she was in any way harmed, in any way neglected or abused. We wouldn't be involved in the case if that were the case. There's nothing to indicate she was malnourished. I just did a podcast a couple of days ago with someone who's an expert in cystic fibrosis, someone who's actually living with it herself. And she talked about how, of course, people, you can confirm this as well, Mary, people who have CF are sometimes underweight. That is actually quite common. But in this case, she was actually in the normal range, is what this individual said, because this individual is in personal contact with Joy as well. That the normal range for a 5-year-old would have been between 28 and 44 pounds. She was 37, I think, the day she was taken away. So now there's this apparently, from what I understand, that, people are saying, or at least people are coming to me and saying, well, she, was malnourished. Maybe that was the reason they took her away, and speculating. I've heard a lot of speculation about that. I don't know if that's the argument they're making in court, because again, I wasn't at the hearing, but if that's the allegation that she was somehow malnourished now, number one, that's moving the goalposts, because that wasn't the original allegation. The original allegation, the reason she was taken away, as Joy said very publicly at the time that it happened, was because she was allegedly refusing this drug, which, by the way, Joy denies as well, that she did not actually refuse it. She was researching it. She was getting a second opinion. She was giving her other treatments that have been well established for cystic fibrosis for decades. She was on medication. In fact, in the DCF Bodycam footage that's now been publicly released, not by me, but it's out there. Other people have released it all over the internet. You see that she's explaining all the medication she's on And then
Right.
she asks one of the DCF workers, do you want me to write this down for you? And she said, oh, well, yes, that would be helpful. Okay, so the mother is clearly treating her for her condition, and it's not like this girl was in the hospital. She's not on oxygen.
Okay.
She's running around, playing, laughing, until, of course, these DCF workers show up at the door. Now Joy has to drive 5 hours away to go visit with her daughter like she did a couple of days ago. She went and had a visit a couple of days ago, 5 hours away.
5 hours.
And the I don't know. I don't want to say too much, but it's out there. Joy has spoken about it. Joy actually did an interview, I think, the day of the visit on Monday. But it's heartbreaking. This little girl wants to come home. She wants to be home with her mother, and she doesn't understand why she's been away from her mother for 2 years and why she can't just come home. Her mother never hurt her. Mommy never hurt me. She said, I mean, think about it as a child.
No, I just,
Why can't I see my mom? I can't imagine being in the child's place. I can't imagine being in Joy's place either. She has maintained incredible composure, and I want to just really give her a lot of credit for that, because many people would have lost it in this situation. Many people would be in jail.
Mhm.
As we've said, I want to give her so much respect and credit for the way she's handled this. But this is one of the most difficult things a parent, other than losing a child. I'd say the next most difficult after that, which I know you had your last guest on, and I heard way too many stories like that. So I put that at the top of the list for the worst things that can happen to a parent. And then number two is having your child taken away from you, ripped out of your home, and you can hardly see your child anymore, or maybe in some cases you can't see him at all. That would probably be number two on my list of the worst things that can happen. So you're covering both of them today, Mary, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a heavy show. I mean, watching that video of the child clinging to her mother as the mother is trying to explain to this stupid DSF worker who doesn't understand that the medication is not a shot or do you, I just, and like, yes, her composure. I mean, I told you off air, I think I'd be in jail. And the mother, the composure is just, is amazing. Where did this cruelty come from? Is this is this some just evil doctor? Where does this come from? Or is this a problem with DCF?
You know, I've been struggling with that myself. I don't get involved in a lot of the conspiracy theories because, even though people think that we are, because, obviously we've exposed a lot of the truth, as you have, about vaccines and about vaccine harm. So people try to just label us conspiracy theorists, even though, you know, being a conspiracy theorist is synonymous with, I guess, being a soothsayer or Nostradamus or something, because pretty much all these conspiracy theories have come true now. But people have conspiracy theories. People talk about there is evidence of child trafficking through CPS. I don't even want to get into that. There are a lot of documentaries and there's a lot of evidence that's been revealed online. I'm not talking about in this case. I'm talking about all across the country. What the motivations are. I'm not saying any of these workers in this case are involved in anything like that, but what I will say is it's certainly evil, because you see this arrogance and it's pride, which is, I mean, that's chief among the capital sins, where you have pride uh, in these workers just almost, it seems like they're happy to do this. And I don't understand
Mhm.
how anyone could be happy to separate a child from their mother. And the doctors have such arrogance that just because she disobeyed, or I've seen doctors just because you don't show up for an appointment called
Really?
DCF. I've seen that before too. And you as a physician, let me ask you, has it ever run across your mind to report someone for missing an appointment or saying that they want a second opinion? To report someone to the authorities? Has that ever entered your mind?
Absolutely not. I mean, maybe if there was a child that I thought was on the verge of death, but no, absolutely not. That's just,
It's
yeah.
and every doctor I've spoken to since this has happened has said the same thing, and there's no indication either. I haven't been able to find any record that they ever reached out to um, the child's primary care treating physician, because it's been Joy's contention all along that she was being treated, she was seeing another doctor, She was thriving. So did they reach out to that doctor? Where is that evidence? Because, that, is something that we would like to see. And to my knowledge, that hasn't been the claim. There hasn't been any evidence that they ever did, that they ever contacted that doctor, that physician, that other doctor. No, they just go with the doctor at the hospital in Pensacola who said that she needs to have this one particular kind of medication. There's almost always other treatments. Now, can doctors have reasonable disagreements? Of course they can. One doctor can say this is the best. Another doctor can say this is the best. But I don't understand how a disagreement between physicians leads to a child being taken away. Again, if she said, I'm not giving her any treatment, and this girl couldn't breathe, she's on oxygen, she's in the hospital, the emergency room, no, I refuse to treat her, that's a different situation. But that isn't what was happening here. And, when you watch that body cam footage, I don't ever see the workers asking, her, are you going to do this? Are you refusing treatment? No, they affirmatively state, we're taking her away because you're refusing treatment. And when she tries to defend herself and said, I'm not refusing, they cut her off and said, stop interrupting me. They won't even let her speak. Like this needs to be against the law if it's not already. From what I can contend, from what I can find, I should say, it's not. DCF workers are able to take a child out of the home in Florida. Again, for all, maybe I shouldn't say this, but for all the talk about medical freedom coming out of Florida, from Governor DeSantis's office, from Dr. Joseph Ladapo, who I admire. I think he's a great doctor. We've, promoted and shared some of his work before and his statements. But you can stand at a podium, Mary, and you can talk a lot. All of us do it. We've all spoken publicly about vaccines, about health freedom. We've gotten up in front of press conferences in front of thousands of people. I have. I know you have too. And we can talk and talk and talk, but talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words, right? I want to see action. The governor's office knows about this. They obviously tweeted about it the other day. I also have been speaking to people that personally know the governor and the lieutenant governor, people in Governor DeSantis' office that I know for a fact they're aware of it. They're totally aware of this. Dr. Ladapo obviously is aware of this. So what are they doing? Why have they not acted? Is that statement from the communications director all we're going to get? Or are they going to step in and take action? And I know, maybe they don't think it's politically in their best interest to do so. But I would venture to say that it is, even if you're looking at this just from a political lens, which you shouldn't be when a child is involved. The child's been separated from her mother. But even if you're just looking at this from a political lens, politically, it's in your best interest to come out, step in. If you see any evidence of wrongdoing, which I don't know how you can't here, to say, we are stepping in, we are taking charge, we are going to reunite this child with her mother, and everyone who was involved in this is going to be disciplined or terminated or whatever you want to say. Get out ahead of it. Someone said to me the other day in an interview, that other interview that I did, well, maybe they don't want to because they're worried about liability in court. They're worried about making an admission of wrongdoing. No, if I were advising them, and I can't because I'm not licensed in Florida, but if I were advising the governor's office or any governor in my home state, and if they were in a situation like this, I would be saying, absolutely, get out ahead of it, limit your liability, mitigate your damages. Because what you're doing by allowing this to drag on is you're increasing the damages that the state will have to pay. Every day she's separated from her mother is additional emotional distress. That's additional compensatory damages. The PTSD I'm sure she's suffering, as well as that Joy is suffering. You're just compounding the damages. If you can say, as soon as we became aware of it, we stepped in and took action, that limits your liability. Don't try to sweep it under the rug for 2-3 years more in court, drag this out and keep her separated. Be proactive. And you know what? Governor DeSantis is eyeing another run, I understand, for president. If that's the case, if he is, this is politically in his best interest to say, I am for health freedom. When I found out something like this was happening in my own department, I didn't provide them cover. I stepped in personally and made sure it was corrected and that this child was brought home safely. He can claim that victory, and that'll win him a lot of political support.
So the mom, is she on defense, or has she sued the state yet?
She has not sued the state. I don't have any knowledge of any kind of lawsuit. We're not, involved in any lawsuit like that. That wouldn't happen now. The first step would be trying to get her back home, her daughter back home. Once this is closed and she retains her parental rights and she has her daughter safely back home, that would be the conversation to happen at that time after. But right now, no, you really wouldn't want to do that. This wouldn't be the right time to do that because number one, just a lack of resources, right? Resources are very thin. We've done everything we can, and we're continuing to raise money for her, but legal resources are very thin, and everything needs to be devoted right now to getting that girl safely back home. Once that battle is won, the next battle could be, if she so chooses, it's up to her. It's not up to Brian or her attorney or anyone else. It's up to her whether she would want to pursue that. And I don't know. That's a conversation for another day.
Well, I hope she sees them. So what, I know there was a hearing, but they ended the hearing and then they're going to reconvene the hearing in February. Is that right?
It's my understanding there's another hearing date for February 9th to continue that. Again, still to address the termination of parental rights. I don't have any information as to, exactly the evidence that was presented or what evidence will be presented at the next hearing. Again, that's all under seal. This is what makes it very difficult because here I am talking about it. Here is the governor's office talking about it, but both of us have to say, however, we can't give you specific details of what's going on with the legal process or the investigation or anything else because it's under seal. That's what makes it difficult in cases like this. Most cases we take are very much open to the public. Most cases we take, even if it's going before a circuit court or certainly the Supreme Court, that's live streamed even. You can get the audio that's available to the public to listen in on the hearing. This is a different situation because it's family court and involves custody and DCF. All of that is kept under seal. So unfortunately, we don't have those details. But yes, there's another hearing. She's going to continue to fight through this process. Once it's resolved one way or another, and the legal process is over, obviously we will provide an update when we're legally allowed to do so. But at this point, we can't. Just know that she's continuing to fight to keep her parental rights. This is huge because once the parental rights are terminated, it's very, very difficult to reverse that. It's almost, I don't want to say game over, but it's pretty close to that, which is why we're fighting so hard to stop that from happening.
Wow. So how can people help?
So we still have that fundraiser. Donations continue to come in. I want to thank everyone, all of your listeners and followers who have contributed, but we're still, as of right now, only at 51% of that total goal of $25,000. I know you just had a guest on asking for donations, and I would encourage people to please donate to Dan's cause as well, because we very much support that and that litigation, him trying to fight for justice. So if you can only donate to one, certainly I'm not going to try to take, top billing above Dan. But if you're able to donate to both, please consider even just a small donation. Like he said, his is $7 minimum. We don't have a minimum. You could give $1. But we definitely need to help her because this has become very, very expensive very quickly. Like we paid, I'm not going to get into specifics of what we paid, but we paid several thousand, quite a bit of money up front before we even had the fundraiser launched out of our own donor reserves. That was eaten up within, I think 7 to 10 days. And then where we already need to provide that again. So we want to pay for everything. We don't want Joy to pay one penny because going through all of this stress, trying to get her daughter back home. And like Dan said, most people, they don't have this kind of money. They don't have, $25,000, $40,000, $50,000 for legal fees. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. And we exist to take that burden off of you. If you find yourself in that situation where your basic human rights, this isn't even civil rights. This is a basic human right to have your child living with you in your own home. Okay. When your basic human rights are being violated, you should not have to worry about paying legal bills. It's at wethepatriotsusa.org, by the way. I didn't even say the website. Wethepatriotsusa.org. And I was looking for Dan's fundraiser too. I didn't think he mentioned it either. He said it was a Give, Send, Go, but I couldn't find the link. So if you can drop that link, because I wanted to see if I could make a donation as well to that, please. I know you'll include it in your show notes and everything, but I was looking for it while I was listening to your interview with him. So I'd like to support that as well.
Definitely. I'll leave both links in the comments. Thanks so much, Brian, for the update. And gosh, what a just horrible, difficult situation. But thank God she has you helping her and your organization helping her, because yeah, the legal, it's impossible to fight back unless you have people helping you. I can speak from personal experience. It's the legal bills are just unbelievable, and you're really you're really kind of screwed if you don't have people helping you, because the average person cannot afford to defend themselves in court, sadly.
And she was doing it pro se originally, Mary. She was
Wow.
originally, before we stepped in. Remember, this happened 2 years ago. She was uh, going through this termination of parental rights hearing by herself without an attorney.
Wow.
Your chances are almost zero of getting your child back if you don't have legal representation. So that's why we knew we had to step in. It was like, no, you're not showing up to that hearing without an attorney. We're going to get one for you. Hopefully, we'll raise money. We just want to break even financially to keep our business afloat. We're not looking to profit. We're a nonprofit. We're looking to just at least break even. The money that we spend, that we shell out, if we can get back to zero, so that way we can help the next person. And that's how we go along. We live on a case-to-case basis. People think we're one of these huge companies like Alliance Defending Freedom, who I love. They do great work. I know people over there, but we don't have $100 million budget like they do. So I'd love to get there someday. I'd love to have even a tenth of that. But we live case to case, so we're very small in that regard. But yeah, if anyone can help out, we really appreciate it. And thank you so much for continuing to cover this story. I know mainstream media has refused to, even local media. We're trying to get Florida media to pick it up, and we're not seeing it. So it's only the independent journalists, podcasts like yours, that are covering it. So thank you so much.
Well, you bet. Come back anytime, and hopefully with some good news next time.
Yes. God bless.
You too. All right. Well, that's it for today. Next week, we have Leslie Manukian coming on to discuss her big, she has a coalition of health freedom groups that the goal is to eliminate mandates state by state, because you may not realize this, but we are not protected in America from mandates. Despite what happened during the pandemic, the government could pull that on us anytime. And so Leslie is leading the charge and getting legislation passed in every state, or as many states as she can, to protect us from future mandates. She was very successful in Idaho, and she's replicating that effort around the country. And she'll join me next week to discuss that.